was a man named Hasan al-Basri. This is Hasan al-Basri of Quran. Hasan al-Basri, the great Tabi'i, was known for his great impact to the deen, and his great piety, and his great speech. He was born in 21 after Hijrah. He was born in the Khalifa of Umar radiallahu anhu. So, his first 2 years of his life, he was in the Khalifa of Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu. And he even attributes some of his motivation to keep teaching, to keep being the great scholar he was, to the fact that 2 of his years of his life, even though he was a small baby, he spent under the Khalifa of Umar radiallahu anhu. And so, this great Tabi'i, he was, in his youth, he accompanied so much of the great Sahaba of the time. He was born in Medina. His mother, Khaira, she was the maid for Salama. You know who Salama is? One of the Ummahat al-Mu'mineen, one of the mothers of the believers. And she actually breastfed Hasan al-Basri when his mother was busy doing work. And not only was her mother of this status, but his father was the servant of Zayd ibn Thabit. Does anybody know who Zayd ibn Thabit is? Zayd ibn Thabit, one of the scribes of the Prophet, one of the writers of the Revelation. When Wahi was coming to the Prophet, Zayd ibn Thabit was one of the ones who would write it. So his mother and father are servants and maids of these 2 great companions. So when he's growing up, Hasan al-Basri is not only the companionship of these great 2 mother and father figures, but look at these great people, these great Sahaba that he's in the household of constantly. And as he's growing up in Medina, he spends time with some of the great Sahabas of the time, Uthman and Ali radiallahu anhu. He spent time even learning from Ali radiallahu anhu. So he spent time with these great Sahaba, and when he was actually becoming born, Salama took him to Umar ibn al-Khattab, and she showed him to him. And he said, name him Hasan, because of how beautiful he is, how much beauty Allah gave him even at a young age. And Umar made a dua for him. He said, oh Allah, give him true understanding of the deen and make him beloved by the people. And we will see this is exactly what happened. And this is the dua that Umar made for Hasan al-Basri. So he's able to be surrounded by these people, but better than this, he was able to absorb all the benefit from these people. He was able to learn immensely, even though he only spent maybe less than 2 decades with these people. He was able to learn so much from them and benefit from the surroundings that he was surrounded by. And it's a lesson for us as well. Are we in the company of those who we want to be accompanied with, right? Prophet said, a man is upon the religion of his best friend, so let one of you look at whom he befriends. This is integrity. Prophet also said, and Muslim ibn Hamid, that attribute of a good companion is of 3 things. When you see him, he reminds you of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When he speaks, his speech increases your knowledge of the deen. And thirdly, his actions. Privately, publicly, what his actions exemplify taqwa and consciousness of the hereafter. So Hasan al-Basri is constantly surrounded by these people of consciousness, people of taqwa. He's constantly surrounded by the Sahaba, these great Sahaba of the time. And he's still a young boy. And he's soaking it all in. He's like a sponge. He just soaks it all in. And so later on in his life, when he goes to Basra, so I tell Hasan al-Basri, he's able to release that sponge, right? So he's this great Tabi'i who was able to benefit from his surroundings. So we all need to understand to make sure we pick and choose who we're spending our time with. And not only that, are we understanding that these people who we're surrounding with, they can be a virtue for us, they're a benefit for us, they're a trust, they're a benefit from us, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we have to take advantage of it the best we can. In 657 CE, he was around 15 years old. And this was after Uthman passed away, because he became shaheed. This was during the time the fitna started, around this time. He was 15 years old. And so his family moved to Basra. His family goes to Basra, and he began learning from the Sahaba that moved over there, because not all the Sahaba are Medina. So he began teaching, he began learning a lot under the Sahaba which were there. And he became a major talking point in Basra. He was born in Medina, but became nurtured. He became a man of Basra. And his knowledge and his speaking ability were so magnificent, and so beautiful. People would be lining outside the doors to be listening to his hadith. That's how impactful he was. He was able to have so much power and so much genuine taqwa in the way he spoke, and people would love to just listen to him. As Umar made the dua for him, make people beloved of him, because he was so detached from the world, as shown by the first story about the thief. He was so detached from the world that the world began to love him so much. So he loved the deen so much, and he didn't let his popularity get to his head. He's such a major figure in Basra because of his status and because of everybody knows him, because of who he studied and how he conducts himself. But he didn't let it get to his head. He was able to control himself because, as one of his neighbors said, Khalid, he said, he was one of those people whose actions in public also matched his actions in private. Because he's a neighbor, he sees all this stuff. So Hasan al-Basri is among those who were able to, not only exert himself in public in a certain way, but he is like that in private. And this is the way he was able to control his nafs and control his desires. He once said, Hasan al-Basri once said, Iman is not outer decoration, nor mere hope. Rather, it is what settles in the heart and what is affirmed by actions. I'll say it again. Iman is not outer decoration nor mere hope. Rather, it is what settles in the heart and what is affirmed by actions. You have to actually act upon it. It may settle in your heart, but if it truly settled in your heart, then we have to actually try to act upon it. And his speech and his sermons were so powerful that it was hard not to be swayed by his speech. It was hard not to be convinced by him because of how able he was to speak. And some even say that this is because he was breastfed by one of the mothers of the believers. So this was able to give him some blessing in his speech. He was able to train his nafs to be congruent with the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is also learning from the thief story and learning from this. We also see that not only is he taking the most of his companionship, but he's able to train his nafs to the best ability and be in private and in public the perfect display, not perfect, but one of the best displays of the Ummah at the time for actual taqwa and actual controlling our desires. And this is somebody who we should also try to look and benefit from his ways that he conducted his aspects of his life. He passed away in Basra in 728 CE, around 100 or so Hijrah. And by the way, he knew Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. They knew one another in a similar time period. He was 86 years old when he passed away. And like all the major scholars, he was also riddled with problems with the society. For example, Basra was riddled with hypocrisy at the time. So he had to change the ways, he had to stand up for the truth, stand up for the haqq. And he was able to change a lot of the minds of the elites at the time with his wisdom and with how he spoke once again. So the major things that we need to take away from Hasan al-Basri subhanAllah is the fact that he's able to absorb like a sponge so many of the people around him, and he takes advantage of the trust that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him. Being a tabi'i is a trust that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him, and he upheld that trust, he upheld that trust by being able to absorb all the knowledge and being able to release it all to those people in Basra and to all the students that were crowding him, that were surrounding him, that wanted to learn from him and learn from his wisdom. So we need to be very careful about who we're surrounding ourselves by, number one. Number two is the fact that he was able to control his desire, control his nafs, and the piety that he displayed inwardly and externally. So in the public sphere and by himself, he was able to control himself. So subhanAllah, may Allah allow us to be amongst those who have all the qualities of those pious predecessors. Allahumma ameen. ربنا اغفر لنا ولإخواننا الذين سبقونا بالإيمان ولا تجعل في قلوبنا غلا للذين آمنوا ربنا إنك رؤوف رحيم. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. جزاكم الله خير. بارك الله فيكم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.